Welcome to the Assembling Inclusion podcast. On this show, we feature different programs, individuals, and initiatives focused on being more inclusive of individual needs. We invite you to learn right alongside us. If you want some additional resources or access to our courses, please visit our website or follow us on social media. But for right now, let's get right to the episode. Halloween is fast approaching, and it's always been my favorite holiday of the year. So of course we had to feature an organization that's working to make Halloween more inclusive during this spooky season. In this episode, we talked to Rich Padulo from Treat Accessibly, an organization dedicated to making Halloween more accessible. Based out of Canada, Treat Accessibly was started with Rich's family at their home one Halloween, after they realized that trick-or-treating just wasn't accessible to everyone in their neighborhood. Since then, over 40,000 homes have held their own Treat Accessibly Halloweens across Canada. In this episode, Rich shares his story of how he and his family came up with the idea for Treat Accessibly, and how this movement has grown from people changing their trick-or-treating layout to just being more aware of how to be inclusive to disabilities to creating full disability-friendly Halloween villages. As Halloween approaches, make sure to listen for Rich's advice on how to make your holiday more accessible to everyone in your community. Let's dive right in to learn more. Hello and welcome back to the Assembly Inclusion podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a timely episode centering around making Halloween more inclusive. So we're joined today by Rich Padulo, who started the Treat Accessibly organization. So Rich, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie.
So let's just dive right in and talk about what was the inspiration that actually led to you and your family creating Treat Accessibly?
It was Halloween 2017, and my family adores Halloween. And it was about a week and a half before Halloween, we were putting pumpkins on our stairs. And I looked up and I saw a family going to the park nearby our home. And one of the little boys in the family was using a wheelchair, and I was putting pumpkins on a stair. And I realized in that moment that he wouldn't be able to trick or treat at our house. And we want every kid to be able to trick or treat at our house who lives in the neighborhood. And so I turned apparently ashen white, and my daughter asked what was wrong. And I explained it to her, the experience I just had thinking about that little boy. And she became very affected, as did my wife. And the next day, we decided to treat from our driveway. We didn't know the family. We'd just seen them a couple times going back and forth towards the park. So we didn't know where they lived. So what we did was we built a sign that would sit at the end of our lawn that basically told everybody that our home would be accessible for Halloween. And it said accessible trick-or-treating, and it used the iconic wheelchair symbol. And we put a cape on the wheelchair symbol. It was all orange and white, very Halloween. And that Halloween, we had 7 families from upwards of about 3-4 kilometers come to the home because they had seen or heard about the sign and had never seen or heard of anything like it before. So they wanted to bring their children. Their children had a variety of different disabilities, mobility, sensory, intellectual, and they all shared that with us. You know, no one in our family identifies with having a disability, but I am a parent. My daughter is a child. We identify with being parents and their children. And we said, we'll do this again next year. And the next year, our family just printed 150 signs. And that year, a dear friend who works at RE/MAX Canada named Anthony Volpini said, I love this idea. He too is a parent, and he organized RE/MAX purchasing 2,000 of the signs for their agents to distribute. We were just so touched by that. And that year is when the media picked it up, and we received requests from cities, individuals, businesses to participate next year. And we just kept growing it. And as of, I believe it was 2019, the third year, we were delivering 25,000 signs at a Canadian retailer across the country. And it's grown every year since. And as of this year, we have over 100,000 homes across Canada participating. We are now with the organization called Kinder, their chocolate
Yeah.
organization. They put our message on every single one of their Halloween boxes. And there's a company up here in Canada called Canadian Tire. And Canadian Tire funds us to build 10 treat accessibly Halloween villages across the country in 10 different cities. As of this year, we did 7 the year before, 1 the year before. And what we do is we hold those during the day before Halloween. So the kids get to come and kind of spread the word. The events are for kids with and without disabilities, parents with and without disabilities. So from 2017 with one sign to today, going into this year, we aim to get 400,000 homes participating because as of today, there's 400,000 children in Canada who identify with having a disability. That number in the US is about 4 million because we deal with factors of 10. You guys are 10 times our population. And our goal is to continue growing in Canada and move it down to the US as soon as we kind of finish everything off here. We're not a charity, we're not a nonprofit. We don't accept any money from people. So we're just kind of a family starting this grassroots movement, and we'll hope to grow it as large as any country where Halloween exists.
It's grown so much since the beginning. That's amazing how
Beautiful.
many people.
It's been truly beautiful.
That's really incredible. And I have to say, Halloween has always been my favorite holiday.
All right
So
on.
I've been looking for something that was related to inclusivity within Halloween because I was like, there
All
has to
good.
be something out there. And I couldn't find anything until I found Treat Accessibly. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to do because, you can just participate. It's a great way to be inclusive of everybody in the community. So that's really great how many people have kind of taken this on since you've started with just your house and how long it's expanded.
It's really beautiful. I think everybody wants to do their part. Everybody wants to help, especially when it comes to kids. It's just kind of giving them an angle or route to do so, and we make it real easy. All the signs are free. You can print your own if you can't get one from a store, and all the tips are available on our website to make your home accessible and inclusive for a variety of disabilities. And frankly, it's not that hard. Just really moving your station to the end of the driveway takes about 90% of the issues that children and families face with the barriers that the typical home has. Plus, if a child has a sensory or an intellectual disability, it's nice for them to stay closer to their parents, especially in the earlier years, and doing so in such a way that doesn't make them feel awkward going up to the door with their parents. They get to feel included, but not different. Because if all the parents and all the kids are coming up to somebody at a table at the end of their driveway, it just makes it a lot of fun. And frankly, when you sit at the end of your driveway, you get to talk to everybody. So it's a real nice, especially after the last few years, it's a real nice way to kind of get engaged with your neighbors that you may not have talked to or seen in a while. It's very fun.
I was about to ask you that, so you answered my question. I was going to ask, aside from the moving of the trick or treat station from behind your closed door and you have to ring the doorbell to the end of the driveway, is there any other recommendations or considerations that you would offer people?
This works for a lot of kids, but maybe eliminating loud and shocking sounds is good. The removal of strobe lights is good. Music is awesome. Music helps a lot and for a variety of reasons. So music is very cool to have at the end of your driveway. It's really that simple. Maybe some pets who aren't as kid friendly stay inside just to avoid some barking and some jumping. But, typically the individuals who their pets at the end of the driveway or participating in the Halloween are kids safe. They love children. So it's a real easy transition. And that is actually very beneficial to the kids too, to have a nice, friendly, calm dog around. Those are the typical rules. There's a few more on the site, but those are the top ones.
And that's good advice for everybody, I think, who wants to get started to making sure that it's inclusive. And again, so easy to do.
And it really is fun. Like, even if you don't have a child with disabilities on your street, there's a very good chance you might have one attend because of the sign being put out. But even if you don't have one attend, you're championing accessible inclusion. You become kind of a mini Halloween hero and expert about it. And you can talk to your neighbors about it, sharing that message of how something is institutional as Halloween because of the barriers most homes have, specifically just stairs and going behind a door, is not accessible to a great number of children. It kind of allows you to pan out and think about the rest of the world and how many things aren't accessible from an institutional standpoint. It really starts to open your eyes. And who knows, maybe someone who's doing it or somebody sees it, builds products, builds buildings, when it starts to impact the way they do things. That's kind of the goal of Treat Accessibly. We just want to help people kind of open their eyes to inclusion and accessibility, help out their fellow parents, help out their kids' futures, and that's why it exists.
I did want to make sure I clarified. So if a household or a family wants to become a Treat Accessibly participant, you
Yes.
said that all they have to do if they're local in the area is get the sign, but if they're not local, you had mentioned that you can get it on the website. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The first step, if you're genuinely interested in it, is to go to treataccessibly.com, and it will give you information on the tips and tricks to be accessible on Halloween. It will allow you to print a sign or find one at a local store. Probably not a ton in New Jersey, but you can definitely print one. And I'm sure you've got listeners all over. So definitely you can print one off our website. In Canada, we say put it on a hockey stick and stick it in the ground, but any stick will work. And then one of the other things that we're going to be instituting as of August this year is a do-it-yourself Treat Accessibly Halloween Village, a folder that you can download off our site, and that will give you all the information to rally your neighborhood, whether you want to do your home alone or 3 homes in a row or an entire street like we do at our 10 events across Canada. Then you can do that. And it gives you all the information you need. It gives you letters to send or to flyers to drop off at your neighbor's house to get them rallied and on board. And then the whole kind of day of events on how to get it up off the ground. We've already have 3 families across Canada who are going to be piloting the kit and giving me feedback on the kit before we go live with it on our website in August.
Oh, that's awesome. And I did want to ask about that village. So
Yes.
you started it in, was it 2021?
That's right. That was a dream for us to do it since the very beginning. We wanted to do it on our street, actually, in Toronto, but then we moved to Burlington. And frankly, we needed funding to do it the way we wanted to do it. We basically wanted to create like a Disneyland Halloween experience for the children. And we partnered with an organization. It's the Holland Bloorview Children's Rehabilitation Hospital. It's an incredible place where children after surgery attend for rehabilitation. It's an outpatient rehabilitation program, and it's actually a school for certain kids with disabilities to attend. And it's an incredible institution. So I wanted all those kids who were able to leave the hospital or come from home to get just, in some cases, their very first traditional Halloween experience where they could go not necessarily door to door, but home to home. So we spoke to a wonderful street called Queens Drive in Toronto, and they are known for doing Halloween really, really well. And I explained it to them, what we wanted to do. And then I explained, hey, we're going to do this on like October 1st or 2nd. I can't remember what day it was, but it was a Saturday. And you have to fully decorate your home in advance, a month in advance of Halloween. And that street had 70 people on it. And I would say within 3 days, we had 30 volunteer homes. And that October 2nd, we had about 1,000 kids come in our first year. And we had media from across Canada air the story. So a lot more people heard about it. And Canadian Tire thankfully funded the whole thing. They'd never seen it. Nobody'd ever done this before. I mean, I'm just a dad, and they still funded this thing. And it was incredible. And it's completely free to everybody to attend. And mind you, this was just still COVID was going on. So it was inspirational that we were doing it. We were working with the Children's Hospital to ensure it was safe. Everybody's wearing masks. Like we did it very, very well. If I do say so myself, and I'm saying it on behalf of over 200 volunteers that made it happen. And then Canadian Tire said, let's do 7 cities next year. And so we did 7 cities the next year and we got it done. And it went really well again, and lots of coverage. So a lot of people found out about Halloween, and now we're going to do 10 this year. So we're in almost every province in Canada this year. The children have just an amazing time. I remember one mother coming to me. She has an 18-year-old son with MS, and she told me that that was the first year he'd ever trick-or-treated before. So when a mom tells you that, it pretty much is all the energy that you need to grow the movement, because there's a lot more moms and a lot more kids like that across the country.
Oh, yeah. It really puts it into perspective how many children have not experienced a traditional Halloween
That's right.
because of accessibility barriers. And if one person said it, I'm sure there's way
Absolutely.
more than that.
One of the major factors in the readings that we do and when we speak to people is socialization barriers that occur with children with disabilities, just due to a lot of natural barriers that exist both in the way we behave as well as the way structures and events and experiences are created for the masses. And to be able to create or basically hack an existing mass experience social event like Halloween and allow it to be accessible and to demonstrate to those families and those children out there that their fellow neighbors want it to be accessible. It does a lot, I think, of heavy lifting for the movement, as well as trying to infiltrate day-to-day life and understand that we should all be hanging out together, regardless of it being Halloween or not. That's kind of the goal of the experience, is to create this mass shared experience that everybody typically does get to share, except children with disabilities.
And that's a great way to be able to show to people how much their community does value them and want them to be a part of the experience.
Beautifully said. Beautifully
so that's
said,
really great.
Yeah, beautifully said.
And I'm just really impressed, but the village really impresses me too, just because that's a lot of organization to get that many people in one space to come together. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I would not be opposed to decorating my house. Usually it is decorated by the beginning of October as it is.
Awesome.
So
you're the
that
best.
would have been.
Well, I'll tell you, Katie, first off, I'm going to send you your sign. You just got to throw me your address, and you can be the first home in New Jersey to ever have one.
Yes.
And so congratulations on that. But, like I said, it would not happen without so many people being so passionate about doing it. We were on our last day of the 7 cities that we did it in last year, and we had wonderful weather. And I'm not trying to jinx anything for this year, but the last place in Calgary, it snowed. And it snowed the night before, about 8 to 10 inches. And when I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning to start setting up for the 1 p.m. start of the event, the homeowners had already all come out, shoveled the sidewalks, and were hand shoveling the streets. So you say, like, I don't know how you could organize this kind of stuff, but it really, once you put a few steps in one direction, everybody's just rallying and doing it themselves. And the same day we were doing one of the treat accessibilities in Calgary, and we were doing one in St. Albert where it hadn't snowed. So I usually go to each one just to make sure everything's going okay. And I was going to fly down to Edmonton, which is only about an hour flight, midday. Due to the snow, I told the homeowners and the team there that I was going to have to stay in Calgary. And just like champs, chins up, and just did it. And apparently it went incredibly smoothly. It was really special. And this year we're going to do it in such a way, because all these 7 cities are Halloween experts, that I'm only going to attend a few of them, so we could do them all in one weekend and get that media blast to really go across the nation in 1 or 2 days.
I like that it's going to be consistently on one singular weekend.
We're going to do 10 cities over 2 weekends. So Saturday, Sunday, we'll have like 5 or 6 events happening the first weekend, and then we'll finish them off the next 2 days on the other weekend. It's just really fun. Like, some homeowners on the street are saying, we're going to invite the mayor. One of the homeowners wants to invite Ryan Reynolds to the event because he lives out in BC. So it's just it's funny how the world kind of works. And once you rally this group, you have this army for good And I can't say I'm a very good general, but I'm definitely very excited to help out this group and just help them make it even bigger by themselves.
Clearly it's growing, so
Right.
it's working.
Right. Well, typically I love the events because I go as Bruce Wayne. And this year I was asked by a kid to go as Tony Stark, hence the mustache. I'm practicing growing mustache and facial hair to event because I figure if I tried doing it right before, it would look real bad. And we tried a fake mustache and it kept falling off my face. So we're going to do the Tony Stark and I'm going to get a really, really sick Iron Man costume made by a wonderful organization in the States who are going to build it for us. So I'll come out as Tony Stark for a little while, and then I'll sneak away and come out as Iron Man to take some pictures with the kids.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the commitment to it. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. Well, for my wife to allow me to put facial hair on, she's very committed, as am I.
And you're starting right now. I know this episode is coming out in early October, and now it's early June. So that's commitment.
That's it. I figure I'll do all the screwing up now with the facial hair.
Get it perfect just before the time comes.
Exactly.
So you shared quite a few different ways that Treat Accessibly has had a positive impact on communities and trick-or-treaters and individuals who have a disability and their families, their caregivers. But were there any other specific examples that have really stood out to you over the past couple of years of how this has really impacted people's lives?
My daughter's school has organized some mass auditorium events where I've gotten to speak to all the kids, and the kids have really brought it on. And it was really cool seeing how they became educators to their parents, and how that's kind of spun out into their jobs, into their businesses. Organizations, as I mentioned, Remax, Canadian Tire, Kinder are all effectively growing their inclusion mandates internally in response to learning about this and as part of the process of changing and understanding and learning, which is always so important. We have a wonderful woman, and this is something that will be on our website come August. We have a wonderful woman. She's a grandmother of a little boy with disabilities, and she writes children's books. So she wrote a beautiful children's book called Atticus, which is the name of her grandson. Atticus Goes Trick-or-Treating. And it fictionalizes the story of my daughter, Sienna, building the sign. And we're going to try to get that into as many schools as possible this year for free, as well as get a bulk of the cities. Now, one of the other major impacts that we feel that we've created was because of the villages, and multiple cities in Canada have passed binding resolutions to promote accessible inclusion at Halloween through all their corporate communications on an annual basis forever. So what that means is it goes to City Hall with a resolution, people vote, and the votes turn out positively always for binding the resolution. And every year you'll see major cities across Canada championing this. And like any message, it just requires repetition. And I mean, we don't have a traditional advertising campaign, so it's not like people see this message popping up. So every year there's a little bit more word of mouth, there's a little bit more visibility for it, and the momentum of the movement grows like anything.
Oh, that's really amazing. I was going through the website pretty heavily to get ready for this. And I didn't know about the book or the resolutions in different cities. Both are really incredible.
Yeah, that's going to be updates coming out in August on the website so people can know. And what we'll do is ask cities to put it to votes in September of this year, as many cities as possible. Also, any school that wants digital copies of the book, because many of them have projectors in their classrooms now, we will send them a free digital copy of the book so they can read it to the kids, as well as kind of do-it-yourself projects in the classroom. They can build their own signs and all sorts of stuff just to get a better knowledge and awareness of being more inclusive and accessible and accepting at Halloween and hopefully beyond.
I love that. Even when I was in the classroom, reading text and having access to that information, because I taught students with disabilities, so it was great to see. Just even between different disabilities, it was nice for students to see what challenges their peers were experiencing. Like, oh, sure. I didn't think about this or this. But then, like you had said earlier, to bring that home then to their parents, that's really powerful for your child to come home and say, like, we should be doing this to make sure our Halloween experience is inclusive for everybody who lives in our town or our community. So that's
Absolutely.
really powerful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Katie.
My last question for you was really about, we touched on this a little bit, about the expansion of Treat Accessibly. So I know that year after year after year, there has been some steady growth, but do you have any plans for expanding the reach in the future?
Canada is where we're currently based, but we would love to execute a pilot Treat Accessibly Halloween Village in the United States this year. We're speaking to a few organizations to help us get that off the ground, because I will not necessarily be able to be there. So we're hoping to get a few great, powerful, strong, kind leaders to champion a Treat Accessibly Halloween Village, and we'll provide them with all the tools to do so. We'll even send a ton of candy their way to get it done. And we want to see if it can kind of take the same kind of experience, because frankly, we did start slow. It took 5-6 years to get to the point we're at here, but we've learned a lot of lessons on the way. So we want to kind of fast forward that into the US. And then ideally, once the US is established, we've had some requests from New Zealand and England. So we'll kind of spread the word out there. And hopefully, I'll do this forever. I don't mind. It's pretty much the most wonderful thing to be able to do for our fellow parents and our kids.
That's so fantastic. It's going to be like a global phenomenon then for everybody who celebrates Halloween.
Let's hope so. Well, our goal is to make Halloween the first accessible holiday in the world. Just based on the model now, we think we can do it.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that, especially because, again, it's just getting people aware of what they need to do to make it accessible. Right. And then it's easy for them to implement. It's not like it's going to cost them a lot of money or they have to build a ramp or anything like that.
Absolutely.
It's just using what you have.
So easy. So easy, Katie, I promise.
I love that. I'm based in New Jersey. We do have a heavy United States listener base right now.
Amazing.
But Canada too. Actually, those are the top 2 right now, I think. For sure.
I love it.
So I'll make sure to link that in the show notes, the link to where to download the sign so that everybody can go right there.
Absolutely. And visit treataccessibly.com. Download the kit, contact me. My email's founder@treataccessibly.com. If you want to have a Halloween village and you think you can make it spectacular for your kids in the area, we're very happy to help.
I will put your email. I will also put the website in the show notes as well, so people can go right there. As you're listening, make sure you go and click and to read more and find out more.
Thank you so much for sharing this message, Katie. That's the best way to grow a movement. Thank you.
Oh, no, of course. Thank you so much for taking the time to share and tell us all about Treat Accessibly and how strong the impact has been. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Assembling Inclusion podcast. I hope the information in this episode taught you something new, gave you a new idea, or showcased a new perspective. If you liked the episode, feel free to leave us a review or comment. If you have a recommendation for an individual or an organization who would make a great guest, you can message us on Twitter or Instagram, or send us an email at assemblingInclusion@gmail.com. See you next time.